This tutorial is going to describe how to make the most basic components of a very basic, standard 3x3 Rubik's Cube, or Twisty puzzle. This method of designing pieces can be applied to pretty much any Twisty puzzle you can imagine. You just have to get a little creative, but this is going to just go through how you design the basic components of a 3x3. Hopefully you watched the other videos that gives a little concept behind it. This is by far the most important video because this will just show you like how to design the basic steps, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff after you have to do to make it printable. Awesome. So you want to go up to this paper, scroll down, press New. Part is the default. Press OK. Make sure it's in millimeters. I'm not sure exactly how to change it. It's pretty easy to figure out though. You can look it up online. It's usually asks you right as you open it. Cool, so you know the basic layout of SolidWorks, so what you want to do is you go over, you click front plane, you select front plane, see how it turns blue, and you press N to go normal to the front plane. What you want to, the very first step is design a cube, because a 3x3 is a cube, a 3x3x3 cube. Each of the edges of a 3x3 is 57 millimeters. That's just standard, so I'll show you how to design that. So what we want to do is design a cube with 57 millimeter edge lengths. So on the front plane, we're going to press L for a line. And what that does is it opens up this sketch. A sketch is its own entity, its own feature. Oops, sorry. Now what you want to do is when you think about designing a cube, go back to lines. When you're designing a cube, you want to start with you're designing one side of it because you're designing 2D. So one side of a cube is a square. It's pretty intuitive. So you go over here to rectangle feature and you want to make a center rectangle. Select that. Now you see I have a little cursor with a rectangle below it. So what you do is you click the center point because we want the rectangle to be based around the origin. This here is the origin. So we want the whole cube essentially to be based around the origin, because a lot of things are like radial about the origin. I mean, you'll realize later, but you want the center of the cube to be the origin. So you make that the center. Press Escape. Now I got this rectangle. You want it to be 57 millimeters, so you press D for dimension. You click an edge. You bring it up. You type 5, 7. Enter. That scales it to 57 millimeters. Now what you want to do is press Escape to get out of dimension. You click one line, you shift, click the other line, you press E for equal. Excuse me. Makes the lines equal. Because you want it to be a square. So this is 57 millimeters, this is 57 millimeters. Cool. You go up to here, you save the sketch. We have a sketch done. The square is done. These here are called construction lines. See how they're dotted? They don't physically exist, but they are used for references. Construction lines are useful, very useful. But for now, we're just going to ignore them. We don't really need them right now. So cool. Over here you'll see it says Sketch 1. That's just the square you just drew. So that square is called Sketch 1. All of those entities are part of Sketch 1. So what you want to do, you want to take this sketch and you want to kind of pull it, extrude it, make it into a 3D body. So you click on Sketch 1, you go up here to Features, you click on Features, and you go to Extrude Boss/Base. You click on that, and it brings you to this kind of corner view. It's called isometric. It's not really important. So it's extruding right now. It says over here, this is the boss extrude feature. You want to go from sketch plane for here. Direction 1. We don't really care about direction 2. Just direction 1 is you can edit the distance it gets extruded. So since it's 57 millimeter cube, you want to extrude 57 millimeters. So you click 5 step, click over here, and it'll kind of give you a preview of what it's going to look like. You can see, oh look, it's a cube. But if you notice, the origin is right here. This is the origin, but the center of the cube is somewhere around here. You want the center of the cube to be the origin. So then rather than extruding it blind, like off the face, you come over here, you click down, you go to mid plane. so it extrudes the same distance both ways. And now the center of our cube is the center of, this is the origin. You can see, click on the origin, and you see how it's the center. Awesome. Now, depending on what you're designing, you're not always going to be designing a cube. Most solids, like dodecahedrons, icosahedrons, pretty much any solid you can think of, you can find online, free downloads of them, which will work fine. That will work. I encourage, though, that you try and design something. Like, try and design a dodecahedron. There are tutorials on how to do that. It's good practice. It'll help you understand the geometry better. I encourage you to do that, but I mean, you don't have to. You can download them online. And so yeah, here is the cube. You can look around it. Now we're going to go into that thing I talked earlier about the cross section. So what you want to do is you want to click on the front plane, then you press Shift S. What that does is a section view, so it cuts it perfectly in half. Kind of like that cube I drew on earlier that we cut in half imaginarily. So you do that, then you press N to go normal to it. Press N again because I brought us to the wrong side. Yes, you can press Enter. That gets you out of that section view feature. So that way we took a section view on the front plane. So you click on the front plane right here, and what you want to do is you want to start a sketch on the front plane. And what we're just going to do is draw the lines that where the cuts go. So we're going to press L, and you start in this corner, you go over again, over again. And what we just did is kind of designed a 3x3. There's 3 layers. There's 1, 2, 3 layers. You're going to Shift, click on one, Shift, click the other 2, then press E to make them all equal. Now we have 3 equal lines, and because these lines aren't really, they're just there for reference, we're going to click on this thing that says for construction, which means they are construction lines and they don't have weight. For instance, if you had like a circle, or any shape for that matter, drawn in construction lines and you extruded it, nothing would happen because they don't carry any weight. So we got that. Let's save this sketch. So we have this point and this point. It's basically just what we created. Yeah, you do this like say you're designing a higher order cube. You would just do more of this. So you want to do a 5x5, you make 5 of those lines. So let's go back to front plane and press L again to start a sketch. So now we're starting a line. This is the part where you draw the cross section. Now the cross section is pretty important. It's pretty much the whole mechanism. This cross section defines everything. What you're pretty much just doing is drawing what you see in the middle, that thing I drew on my wall earlier. Yeah, so it's important. You can go back, you can change it. It doesn't matter right now, but right now we just need to draw a very basic cross section. So what we're going to do is we're going to start up at this point we just made. You click on it. We know the cross section goes down a little, right? It goes in because the pieces go in there, and then it goes all the way to that. We stop here because if you remember, we talked about revolving it. This is will be on the axis of revolution. Don't get confused. You'll know what I mean later. So you see these lines kind of correspond to the mechanism of a cube. So now what we're going to do is zoom out. You can zoom with scrolling too. That's why you didn't see me press Z. And what you want to do is make this tall line here. So you go here and you go completely vertical, straight up. Don't make it angular or anything. And that you'll see why later. So we're going to save this. Now we've got this pretty sketch. You press Shift S to get out of section view. Alright. Now what you want to do is make 3 axes. So you have these planes, your main planes, but we want to make kind of like reference lines. Because when you have this sketch here, you want to revolve it in a circle, but SolidWorks won't know which way to do that. Like, you could revolve it around anything. So what you have to do is you have to make axes. So you press A for an axis, you press on the face here, click on one face, then you come over to this, you can bump out this little plus here, it says plus, that shows all of your previous features, right, and you want to click origin. Oops. And what that does is it'll make an axis from the origin normal to this face. You press enter, there's axis. You want to do that for all three, so you press A, click on this face, click on the origin, press enter. A, click on this face, click on the origin, press enter. Cool, so you've got these three axes, and you notice they're just this is like the x-axis, y-axis, sorry, y-axis, z-axis. Just like three-dimensional. These are one-dimensional axes, though. So now what you do is you click on Sketch 3, and you press R. What R means is R stands for revolve, because we want to revolve the sketch around an axis. Now you can pick either 1, 2, or 3. We want to revolve it around this axis here, right? Because that's the turning axis. And you press enter. And what that does is that revolved every line of that sketch. You can click on the surface body, press I. You see, this is what it looks like where there isn't pieces. This is the separation between the pieces. You see, it's exactly the thing I described earlier. It's a circle followed by the circle here, followed by a cylinder here, followed by a ring. That's the basic cross-section for a 3x3. Now, depending on what you're designing, other cross-sections will look very different, but for now, that's what it is. Alright, so SolidWorks, this is the end goal. It has this cool feature where you take a surface, kind of like this surface, and you can take a body and you can split it along the surface, kind of like if this were a knife, and it'll split it exactly where the faces are. But if you just took this surface and you split it, that would just give you two pieces. That would give you this half, just like one layer, and then this half, which is like two layers, which we don't want. We want 27 pieces. We want 6 centers, 12 edges, 8 corners, and 1 core. So what you do is you think about each face needs to have this on it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to pattern it. So rather than designing this on every face, we can use a nifty tool you pattern. So what you do is you click on this axis here. Oh, sorry, never mind. You press O. Press O. Ignore that. What O is it's a circular pattern because O is a circle. And we want to pattern these in a circle. So then it opens up this feature, and here's the first empty box where you have to select something. And what you want to pick is an axis. You pattern things in a circle around an axis. So you click here, and then you can pick any axis. Just make sure you don't pick the axis you revolved around because nothing will happen. So you pick like this axis here, for instance. Might make sense later. You get the axis 2. Then it asks you here the amount of degrees. You want to make sure equal spacing here is selected. Click equal spacing. Uncheck features and faces. Sorry, click bodies, because we want to pattern bodies, and then click on this. And what that's doing is it's patterning that surface. Make sure this is up on 4. You can see 3, 2, 3, 4. Think about it, because there's 4 faces around that axis. What that did is it created 4 of these, but in a circle. So 1, 2, 3, 4 of the same one around this axis. That's the pattern feature. That's O. Definitely gonna have to go back and rewatch this a few times till it kind of starts to make a little more sense. Alright, so you look at this, but it's not complete. You only have, look at this face, it's kind of like a waffle. Like, oh look, if I were to split it along these bodies, you would get, look, 9 squares, which is good. But if you look on this face, it's not done yet. So what you have to do is do another pattern. So we're going to click on, we're going to press O again for a circular pattern, because we're patterning in a circle. Go to axis, you select this axis to pattern, and then you go down to bodies, make sure you select bodies, and you pattern this. I just selected this face. Look, you can pattern this one, but nothing happens. Pattern this. It's 4 times again, you press check. And if you look at that, this is like the waffle pattern. So, you see, remember when we went back to this here? Sorry. You can actually expand this down. Look at Sketch 3. Go on to Sketch 3. Remember how we made this really tall? That was because, if you made it short, it wouldn't actually split the pieces because it wouldn't go out far enough. Anyway, what you're going to do now is you're going to press Control, Shift, S all at once. And this is split. The split feature is awesome. It'll take a solid body and split it along all of these faces. So what you do is you go Trim Tools here, and you click on all of these surfaces. Either you can do that, or you can go up to here, press the plus, and it shows you all of these. You can expand out. It says surface bodies here. You can press the plus. That shows you all the surface bodies you created. So you can pretty much just go through here and select them all. Like say you're designing something huge, it's more convenient to just go like here, shift click the last one. And some target bodies. You want to cut on all bodies because this is just which bodies you want to cut, so it doesn't matter because there's only one. And make sure this is not selected here. It says consume cut bodies. That will delete all of the bodies once it does this, and then you'll finish and you'll be like, where did they all go? Alright, cool. So then you go here, you click cut bodies. So it just cut all the bodies, but it gives you all of these random boxes here. So just go on to the bottom, and it shows you all these boxes. Each one of these represents a part that was created because of the split. So you started with 1 cube, and you're finishing with 27 pieces. What SolidWorks makes you do is it makes you select which ones you want to keep, which ones you don't want to keep. It's really annoying, actually. Say you're working with a lot of bodies, you have to go through and like click all of these. But we're not, so it's not a big deal. Usually it'd be kind of a useful feature to have, but for us it's not useful. It's annoying. Go through, just select all of these. And a quick piece of advice. There's something called the Twisty Puzzles Forum. They are a forum that talks all about this. If you have questions, you can ask them, you can ask me. It's a great resource. Make sure you don't click too fast. Look how I did that. I just clicked really fast. That comes up with this error. You just press OK. You have to make sure the one before it is checked before you click this one. So they're all selected, all 27. You see it's 27. You can scroll onto the bottom, see how many there are. Like, oh good, there's 27. Say you're designing like a 5x5, and you scroll down and you see, wait, why is it saying there's 200? That's probably because you made a mistake. Because a 5x5 only has 99 pieces. So you can basically know, oh, 27, that's good. So yes, 27, that's good. Then you go up to here, you press check. And now what you do is you go over to surface bodies. Yours might be minimized. You press plus to show all the surface bodies, and you click the first, shift click the last, select them all, you hide them, and this is your 3x3. It's fun to just spin around and look at. But each of those is on piece. So what you can do is, I don't know, click on an edge, press I. What that does is that isolates it. And now you see the edge. You can look around at it. That's an edge. Looks like the edge of a 3x3. Isolate, or you can press Shift I for that. So press I here. This is the corner. Click a corner. Look around on it. Looks pretty good. Press Shift I to exit isolate. You look at a center. Press I, isolate. Looks like a pretty center. Cool. So if you've done this, you have designed the basic parts of a 3x3. There's one thing though that's really, really important for building puzzles, which right now it doesn't matter a lot. But say you wanted to design like something large, like a higher order puzzle, like a, I don't know, like a 15 by 15, or something big, or like say you want to design a pentultimate. You can't. There's something you have to do differently. So if you look at this piece, you isolate this. You can see. Notice this line right here. See that? If you zoom into it, you'll notice it's kind of like this shard that sticks out. It's not very. It's a very, very thin surface. you know, it's not very useful. It's just not good. You can notice in the corner too. We'll isolate this corner. You've got this pointy ridge here. That's where the two cylinders are intersecting. That's not pretty. And if you look at the centers, it's got this. Typically, that's a bad thing. I know some speed cubes actually work better with this, but just from a pure point of like making something workable, like something stable, you can't do that. So what you can actually do is you can go to your original Surface Revolve 1, pan down, and look at this original cross section you made. You can click Sketch 3, and then you may say Edit. And what you do is you can edit this whole thing you made earlier. Like, say you want to drag this down, you can like move that, and you save. And what it does is it'll go back, it'll rebuild this, rebuild this, rebuild this. So when you isolate a piece, notice how the corner stalk is a lot thinner. All from moving that one line, all this changed. See how that's a lot smaller? And if you notice on the centers, you can isolate the center. Look how much thicker that is. So, like, basically just moving that one line changed so much. A lot of puzzle mechanisms are pretty much identical on the inside. People might not realize it just because how easily they can be changed. So we're going back here to this sketch. The original, this is the master sketch, I guess you could call it. And when I showed you that shard earlier, basically what's causing that is this line right here. Because when you revolve it, it creates a cylinder. And where a cylinder intersects a cylinder, you get a line. Think about it. They intersect perpendicularly. I guess that's not entirely important to understand. But what you need to do is, rather than having a cylinder intersect a cylinder, we want a sphere to intersect a sphere. And assuming the spheres are the same, they're congruent, they are revolved about the same origin, they will create faces. So, for a pure mathematical sense, that's what happens. I mean, it's not really that important to understand, but what you want to do is delete this. That's creating the cylinder. Then you press Q. Q creates a center point arc. So it's like basically part of a circle. So you click on the center, you drag out to here, and you, sometimes it does this weird thing, you make an arc like that. So now instead of that line, we have an arc, and what you can do is kind of line it up and then merge these points. So it looks very similar, but instead of there being a line here, there is an arc. Now if you notice, we'll save this. When it rebuilds, you click on this, you press isolate. Notice this here is smooth. There's no more line like that. Notice on this edge, there's not this little shard here. There's not that little thing that was sticking out earlier. And notice on these centers, oh gosh, this is important. Look at this. See how all of these are merged? That's because, remember when we clicked all those boxes back here on the split feature? Here, I'm going to click on split, edit feature. Some of the boxes, because we changed the original sketch, so it didn't understand like some of the new lines. So we got to go back and click all the boxes that aren't clicked. Then you press check. Yeah, that is a little error. SolidWorks will spit out all these things at you like you'll try and render something and it'll be like, I don't know, it's not going to work, I don't like you. Solid doesn't work. At that point, most of those errors happen for a reason. If you're ever stuck with an error, you can ask, or I really, really encourage you to try and figure it out yourself, because every error that happens for a reason. And it's not because of the program is broken, it's because you did something wrong. Yeah, so that's basically why we got those bodies. So go back and fix it, and here, let's isolate the center now, and you can see it's smooth on the bottom. Alright, so those are the basic parts of a 3x3. Yeah, this video is definitely the most complicated video. This is going to be the hardest part to understand. I tried going through it as slow as I could. If you're still confused, if an overwhelming majority of the people who watch this are like, what the heck did he just do? I will happily make a new video. Post the questions. Please post all your questions below. I will attend them as fast as I can. I will make more videos if I have to. But yeah, if you made this far, congratulations. That's awesome. But basically all this stuff can be applied to anything you want. Like 5x5 is pretty much the same way. A 6x6 design the same way. A Mega Manx design almost the exact same way, just on a dodecahedron. Yeah, that's the basics of cross sections. So please, at this point, definitely try and design this. That's your challenge. Design this 3x3. Design your own 3x3. And I mean, if you can, try and avoid coming back to the video. If you're stuck, definitely keep trying. I know at first SolidWorks is tricky. You know, the interface takes a lot of practice, but if you practice and you practice, eventually you'll kind of just learn it on your own. It's kind of hard to be taught. Just practice. Yeah. Alright, so please go to the next video.